Definitely. I was in Texas. I was preaching my dad's pastoral anniversary, and I actually didn't know if I was gonna get a flight to come back up to Connecticut for the event because they were shutting down airports. And I was really concerned. And by the grace of God, I got a ticket. And when I got back to Connecticut, almost all of Bridgeport was underwater and the lights were out.
Well, that weekend I had my daughter, baby Zoe, and the lights got turned out at our house just like lots of other people's.
I truly think back and say it had to be God because we just had a major storm, Sandy, if I'm correct.
That was crazy. I have to say that was one of the craziest months we had. First of all, being without power, no hot water. At least the water was running, but it wasn't hot.
Man, that weekend was crazy. I remember the storm itself, 2 trees fell down in my house. Like, they just completely collapsed right in front of my house. So I'm thinking ordination, ain't nothing gonna happen. You know what I mean? 2 trees just fell in front of my house. Like, everything is over. This thing gonna get postponed, you know? And then once it started to clear up, I started getting phone calls like, this is happening, this is taking place, da-da-da-da. You know, and I'm like, I was shocked because I didn't think that it was gonna really press through and get it done.
Having no lights, having a Friday Night Live service with no lights, but it was awesome.
Just our whole ministry shows tenacity. You know, we persevere no matter what, serving in excellence, right? So because of the hurricane, the whole storm knocked out all the power.
The effects only now coming into focus. More than 50 people have been killed across 11 states, and more than 8 million are still without power across 21 states. And
signs of Sandy's fury. Lady Liberty's torches out as power outages spread. Nearly 5 million people this morning are in the dark. More than 1.5 million people were forced to evacuate.
Aim at some of America's biggest cities, and it's about to come ashore. Conditions are getting worse by the hour.
So it was just kind of crazy to have so many logistics that had to be done and then to not have lights.
Well, some things that stuck out was coming into the neighborhood and being stopped by the National Guards, guns ablazing, you know, to make sure that we had permission to be in the area, being on campus in the dark, having services where the generators would fail and people would light their phones or what have you, and the worship would continue to go.
We actually had service at Mount Airy Baptist Church, and we served there in a conference room. And then, while most of my team was here, they had to serve with no lights. There were like floodlights on the floor, from what I understand, and they just rocked and rolled. They did it.
All I could say was, I just thought about Parliament, Funkadelics, flashlights on, because that's all we had, flashlights. Everybody walking around with flashlights or the cell phone, doing rehearsals in the dark. I mean, like pitch dark with flashlights. And praise singers looking at the pages with the cell phone light or a flashlight. So,
it seemed like the Spirit of God was even higher and the light was even stronger while we were in the dark.
It was just a time of happiness. It was a time of joy, stress, happiness, mixed feelings. I wanted to cry, I was up, I was down, because I wanted our bishop to have everything in order on that day. And we didn't know what was going to happen because of the storm.
I was on the praise team at the time, so I think we had to learn something like 20 songs. And one of those songs we had to sing for like 20 minutes because while the entire processional was going on, we were singing the same song.
Well, I was at Faith Church with my original leader, Crystal Polk. She was there with me, and we were preparing for the next day for breakfast and everything. So my team was here serving in the dark, and we were there. And then some of my team came up to Faith Church, stayed in the hotel, so that we could be ready to serve first thing in the morning.
That day, I think one of the most emotional things for me, witnessing was seeing the attire when he was being dressed and when the oil was poured upon him, and you just saw that, you could literally see the manifestation of the transition take place when he had the full garment on. It was just incredible, and then the processional walking around was pretty amazing.
The transition that took place was uncanny. It was a surreal moment. It'll forever be locked into my mind because of the pre-service that I went to actually witness all of the bishops going through the process of basically installing him as a bishop before we went before the public. And you know, just to be in a position to see that was an awe-inspiring moment. I mean, it's one that's forever etched in my mind as a milestone and a memory that's like a historical moment that I was actually able to witness.
You could see, as the calling of a bishop, as he was elevated, he wasn't being elevated just to wear fancy clothes or to have a ring and a chain, but he was dying to self.
It was just an awesome feeling. It was just a feeling of excitement. It was a feeling that my bishop is being elevated, but it also was kind of sad because I knew what was going to happen. You know, being elevated, you know, many adversaries, there's many attacks to come. But I knew this is what God wanted to happen on that special day.
And just to stand on that stage and to be in the midst of the event, I was just overwhelmed with emotion because it was so fitting for Bishop to be ordained into that office because we all knew his heart, we knew his integrity, but we knew the sacrifice that it took for him to be qualified for the position that he's in. And we all got a taste of that just trying to make it happen. We really believe that because of how significant his event was, that's why we got so much pushback, so many obstacles, because it was that significant of an event.
But for some people to go out their way and do that for him, that showed me how much he poured into them. You know what I mean? For you to want to do something like that for somebody under those circumstances, that they had to, you know, pour something to you as well. You know what I mean?
It took a lot of coordination. We had to travel down to New York on many weeks, maybe like 3-4 weeks in a row. I was picking up people, bringing the kids down, coordinating with the parents. And, you know, it was really, really a lot of effort that went into that day.
We were tired afterwards, but just to move forward and see how God just made it happen was incredible.
That was an awesome experience, just to see my spiritual dad, you know, take that step, being promoted, elevated. You know, tears were coming out my eyes. I know Matt, he was crying, Elder Matt was crying. Elder John, he was up on stage crying. We were all, it was a special moment just to, you know, I would just thank God just to be in the position is to be there. And to see it from that position, being up there right next to him, experiencing it, it was something I'll never forget.
You know, not too often we see things in, you know, like a Kobe Bryant surpassing somebody or something like that. That's sports, but this is kingdom. And to really see the hand of God move and transition our pastor to the office of a bishop, it was, I still can't put words to it.
You know, at that time still, like I said, being relatively new to New Vision, that let me know, that I'm under a great covering, and pastor at the time, and then a few hours later, Bishop Derek L. Calhoun.
To get where God had elevated him to, it was just powerful. That God can really do anything, and under any circumstances, God can do what He said He's going to do. So I was godly proud, and I know this is weird, but I was godly proud of God because He's amazing. He can do whatever He says He's going to do. He's going to do it.
This day, the day that Bishop was ordained into the office of Bishop, is critical for everyone here today because it literally shifted the entire context of our ministry. No longer Could we just be a common ministry, but now we had the responsibility of being a apostolic governing center. Now we definitely couldn't just have church, but now we had to be a model for so many. And when Bishop got elevated, we got elevated. And that was very clear through the process, that his elevation was going to require us to elevate and step up to another level. So I think for us as a ministry, we need to know that where we are here, this church, is not fly by night, that our bishop wasn't somebody that just got a certificate in the mail, or some dude around the block didn't just look at him and say, you should be a bishop, we're going to ordain you next week. But he went through the process. He went through the hurt, he went through the pain. And so he's qualified for that role, and he's authentic. And we have to be an authentic church. And we have to step up to that role and live in those shoes, because that's part of our legacy and our DNA.